Hey guys, got another video here for you. It's kind of an update to our series going on with the King Quad. Got the motor all apart and found out some news on it, what's wrong with it and what's going on with it. Good news and bad news, I guess, but we expected something to be wrong, so and there is definitely something wrong. It's going to take some time and some money to correct and fix and get it back together. But I'll try to make this video as short as possible, but give you some detail on it. So let me get you switched around here, and I'll show you where I'm at as far as pulling the motor down on the bike. So you can see I got the whole top end of the motor all tore apart here. I got the head off, the jug off, the pistons out. Moving a little closer here, I'll pull up my rag so you can kind of see what's going on. So here we got, it's obviously the crank and the connecting rod right there. This is the timing chain and one of the tension adjusters here. Everything's out. The lower end seems to be okay. I tested out, my free play right here, back and forth. I got the feeler gauges out and looked at the manual and see what kind of free play is supposed to be in there, and that's all good. It checks out. We're within spec. Our top of our connecting rod here, the wear in here, there's really not much wear that I can tell. Let me get in a little closer here. I micrometered, how you say that? I measured it across, how about that? With a micrometer, and it's within spec. It's not at the service limit yet. So as far as the connecting rod goes, what I can tell, the crank is all fine. Which is good news. So the lower end seems to be in good shape yet. The top end needs some help. But let me, I'll move you over to the bench and show you all the components that I got out. Okay, I got everything kind of covered up on the bench here, just for the reason of dust and everything. I want to get everything all dusty and dirty. So let me uncover it. This is what I have. This is all at the top end of the motor. I got coolant hose, the other guides for the cam chain, exhaust cam, intake cam, the hardware that holds down the cams, valve cover gasket, valve cover itself, covers. Tensioner, I'm losing all my bolts here. Cam chain tensioner, spark plug. I got the head right here. I got all the valves out of it. I just threw the cam or the gear in here just so I didn't lose it and lose all the shims for it. Valve seals, head bolts. I got my valves and valve springs all on my little template here of where they go back into. Piston, wrist pin, and the cylinder itself, or otherwise known as a jug. What I found out with it is not a whole lot of problems with the head. What I did is I'll show you real quick here. I got the service manual pulled up on my computer, and I checked all the valves, pulled the valves out, and I checked them. I checked them for the valve seats, or the valve seat as far as deflection. I checked the roundness, make sure the valve is true all the way through, all the way up and down the valve stem. I checked the valve face. There was a problem with the valve face, especially on the exhaust. A lot of carbon buildup on the valve face itself. what I end up doing is I end up what they call lapping in the valves. It's a sandpaper almost. What do you want to call it? It's in a liquid form, but you put it on there and then you more or less just go back and forth with the valve with a tool, and it grinds this surface at a slow pace, obviously, and it's called lapping in the valves, which is just cleaning up that seat and making sure you got a good seal there. So the exhaust was kind of cruddy and it probably was leaking a bit. So that's all. I cleaned all them up. Them are good to go again. The valve seals, they may have been leaking. I'm not sure really, but I pulled them off there, and I'm gonna end up replacing them. Of course, you ruin them when you pull them off anyway. But as far as everything else, the cams look good. The decompression on the cams, on the exhaust cam, that's working and in good shape. As far as the top end, it's not bad. I mean, the valves need a little bit of tuning up, but we got that done. I gotta order some valve seals for it. We'll get that. The main issue, though, well, one thing I want to mention to you is I did end up taking a compression test on it, and we only had, 80 pounds of compression, which in the manual that I showed you, this is supposed to have like around 140 pounds of compression. So we were way down in compression. But I know why. And the reason why is the cylinder and piston. Take a look at this piston real quick here. So you got all these grooves right in here on the skirts of the piston. Both sides are let that way. Real grooved up. And I checked it with my caliper, and there is a difference here. The skirts are worn a little more than the top of the piston. And then we take a look at the cylinder, and we're in pretty rough shape with this cylinder. Let me see if I can get a good picture here. If you can see that, you can see all the grooves in that cylinder wall. And it's on the other side also. Let me spin it around. See all them grooves in there. That's why we're losing compression. Matter of fact, there's even a piece of the casting missing out of the side right here. See let me see if I can get it. Right there. There's a little piece missing out of that, which is kind of scary. I don't know if they're going to be able to hone this out or bore it out or not. I'm thinking they will be able to, but so I think from what my knowledge is, that's exactly the reason why we're losing so much compression. And I did put another measuring tool in here and measured from scratch surface to scratch surface, or groove surface to groove surface, where the piston was riding compared to the other side, and this is a lot more worn than this side. So this is worn here more than this is worn. So we got some more, some out of roundness going on. It's in rough shape, and that's why we're low on compression. Due to the low compression, that's why it's hard starting when it's cold. That's the exact reason why so much blue smoke is because there's oil getting by the rings. I think that's everything to do with our problems right there within that head and cylinder, or the cylinder, not the head, I'm sorry, the cylinder and piston. So that's kind of what I got laid out here. I don't think there's anything. The head gasket was fine. It wasn't a blown head gasket or anything. The other thing I found when I was tearing it apart, this intake rubber here, and I think I'm gonna have to get a new one or a new clamp or something. But the throttle body going into it, this clamp, you can see right now, this clamp is clamped as far as it can go. It's tightened out as much as it can go, and it's still loose. So the throttle body sitting in there wasn't even tightened down. It was just sitting there. There was nothing holding it in. So you can imagine if it wasn't tight, it's going to be sucking in dust, plain and simple. And a couple of the guys that I talked to on one of the Suzuki forums said that the reason why the cylinder's like this, and that's the tall tale sign, is dust. That's why it turned out that way. But my thinking is if that happened because of dust, these valves and valve guides and everything should be shot if it was something to do with dust. So I'm not really sure exactly what the cause. It could have been dust. I'm not sure, or just simply wear, or maybe it was a bad piston, or bad materials or something. I'm not sure, but I know what we got to do. We got to bore this out. We can bore it out to. I found a company, and they actually kind of specialize in this. They'll bore it out. You can, because right now it's at a stock cylinder is at 102 millimeters. They can bore it out to 104 millimeters or 106 millimeters. So I think with that, even that little chip in there that you've seen, it's not huge. It's just off the casting. I think it'll be no problem boring it out. But they'll bore it out, and what they'll do with the cylinder here, you see how this is it's a water jacket around here is what it is. You got the cylinder right here, and then you got the water jacket, and then the outside of the cylinder. I've heard that they say when you bore these out, so you're going to take material out of the inside of here. Of course, that's going to make this the thickness of this thinner. So what happens when you make that thinner? What you're doing is putting a big bore kit in. Is what you're doing. You're boring it out. So you make that thinner. Is that your head gasket doesn't seal as well then, and you have more of a chance of blowing a head gasket. So what this company does is they'll take a filler and they'll fill in this water jacket, not the whole thing, but just the top of it, with material, with aluminum or what have you, and they'll fill it in and then machine it to make it all smooth and straight. So that way your head gasket has a smooth clamping surface all around here, rather than having this gap in here, which is pretty cool. I think that's a good idea to do that. So, this company that I found isn't cheap, of course. They're charging, it isn't cheap, but I think it's a decent price, I guess. I should put it that way. They're charging, you might as well say $700 by the time you get shipping and stuff in there. They're charging $700 to bore the cylinder out. It doesn't matter whether you bore it out to 104 millimeter or 106. They'll bore it out. They'll replate the cylinder. They'll put in that filler material like I showed you around the cylinder wall. They'll ship you the piston to match and the rings to match, and also the gaskets for $700. Which I know, looking it up, just the piston and rings and gaskets is $300, which is unbelievable. I can't believe there's that much just for one piston. So you're paying them $300 to do the boring and weld in the top of it there on the cylinder, and then straighten it all out. So it ain't bad, I don't think. It's still, the place is in Virginia, I believe. Mechanicsville, Virginia. Here from the UP, it's a long way to ship away. I'm kind of nervous about that, shipping this part out, across country. But they were actually recommended to me in one of the forums. They said the guys said they had a good luck with them. They did a perfect job, blah, blah, blah. So it's probably what I'm going to do. Bad thing is it is $700, and I don't have $700 on me, so I'm going to have to save a little bit. save some money, you know, then over the winter here, and hopefully we get her back together in the spring. But so we definitely, you know, there is more parts that go into it, not just the $700 obviously. $700 just to fix the problem. Then you got valve seals I gotta buy, which them aren't too bad. Then of course you got your oils and I got antifreeze and all that kind of stuff to go back into it. A couple bad things that I did tearing this whole thing apart. Not really bad, but it just happened. The battery. This battery is sitting here. It's honestly been weak, but it's an older battery. What I did taking it apart is it wouldn't come apart. You know, the nut inside there was just spinning, and on this particular battery there's really not a hole to get in there to hold that nut. So what ended up happening is I as you can see, I just broke the terminal. Not on purpose, but you can see there's kind of rust all the way around it. It was just weak. So I'm gonna have to buy a new battery. So that's gonna be another $100. I also broke there's a 12-volt accessory plug-in on the front fender on the right side, and you know, initially taking the fenders off, I busted that plug-in going into that 12-volt accessory. So, which I found out them aren't cheap. Them are like $40 or $50 brand new. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, it'll be like a $15 part, you know. Nope, it's expensive. But I don't have to replace it, but I want to put the bike back, you know, to factory stock. So that's where we're sitting. I got this bundle of parts on my bench here, and everything's spec'd out fine on the very top end as far as valves and cams and everything like that. I actually micrometered all the cams and made sure all the lobes are in good shape according to the manual, and everything's good. Everything's good on the top end, except for the valve seals and having to lap in the valves a little bit, but no big deal. Kind of expected that anyway. Main problem is that cylinder, and I'm not sure exactly what caused it. Probably some dust, but I don't know. The only thing I do know is it is the way it is and it needs to be fixed. And we'll get her there. It's just getting some money and saving some money and doing that whole 9 yards. But so anyway, that's where we set on this build. You're probably not going to see another video of this for a little while because I'm saving money for it. You know, I save money and I talked to the company and they said it's going to take probably about 3.5 weeks turnaround time to get that bored out, which ain't bad, really. Still, you know, we're talking a good month, but considering that ain't bad. So anyway, that is the update, and like I said, I won't do another video on this until I've, you know, probably got it sent out or something and let you know that I got it sent out. Other than that, we'll come up with some new ideas for videos and go from there. So that is the update to the King Quad. Like I said, it's good and bad. As far as motor wise, good that the head and valves aren't in bad shape. We don't have to replace anything there besides valve seals. Bad that we got to spend $700 to get that cylinder redone, you know, bored out. But it is what it is. We'll get it. We'll get her done. If you found this video helpful and kind of could see all the components of the inside of the 700 King Quad, and you like the series, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. If you like what you see in this content, there's much more content on this channel and much more to come. So make sure you subscribe also. Other than that, I hope you like this update, and I'll see you on the next one.